Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so I've been trying to take in as much of the conversation about Luka Doncic and Anthony Davis as possible, so I can kind of come back here with a bit more peace and understanding about what happened there with the trade. But to be honest with you, I'm still kind of in shock, and I don't think that in listening to anybody else, I got any clarity. Peace ain't the word. I'm definitely at peace with this. We won the trade, but you know, it's like you got to shift your entire mindset to what the Lakers' future will be and what things mean on your team now that you have this new piece and what you just let go of and your whole timeline and what your timeline looks like from here. It's so much to try to process when you consider the Lakers situation, because we're so enthralled in what the Lakers are about right now and this year and what our future outlook has looked like. And you following the story like I have for 30 years pretty much. It's like, okay, now we're shifting into a new era. Not only are we shifting into a new era, but it's abrupt mid-season. And you've moved some pieces around that change the meaning of other pieces and what their roles should be and your outlook for certain things. You don't need the same things. Now you need certain things even more at this point. So it's like, that's kind of what I'm going through as a fan at this moment. Still having other aspects of this situation to assess, but just trying to like behold what this season is supposed to be about, what the future seasons may look like in making this trade, and what happens from here. So, you know, it's going to be a lot of studying in regards to what we see in the games that we play over the next several weeks. You know, we got a little older with bringing in Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris in our role-playing situation. Obviously, you're bringing in a 25-year-old superstar, so you didn't get older as a team. But you did lose some athleticism in Max Christie. And I want to be clear. When somebody calls you and says, hey, do you want Luka to Don? And they say, give me Max Christie, Anthony Davis in a first, and we'll send you Luka to Don and 2 trash pieces. You don't sit there and say, well, let me call you back because I got to run this past 6 and 7 different people. You say yes right then and there. That's what your responsibility is if you're Rob Pelinka. Because you do not want Dallas going back to their drawing board and then having second thoughts about what it is they just proposed. Or going to a different team and weighing the offer that they were willing to take from you against somebody else. You don't let them get off the phone without you doing that deal. So, am I unhappy that Max Christie is leaving our organization? Yes. Am I unhappy that Anthony Davis is leaving my organization? Yes. Do I like having first-round picks and know that we don't have too many of them? Absolutely. Do I get off the phone without allowing them the opportunity to see me say yes? No. I do that right away. And I assess the issues that come with that later. I'm not going back and forth saying, well, no, we ain't giving you Max Christie. We'll give you such and such. I'm not, you ain't doing none of that because they're giving you one of the most covetable pieces in the NBA at a price tag that they probably are irresponsible for handing you. So whatever the particulars are that they're asking for, you're probably going to give it to them right away. I want people to understand that I thought about something this morning. If they would have demanded Austin Reeves in this trade, I would have gave them Austin Reeves. If they would have asked for Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect in this trade, I gave them both of them dudes. I promise you, man. That's how ridiculous the return that Dallas accepted appears to me. I would have accepted. And you know how I feel about our assets. You know how I feel about Austin Reeves and Dalton Connect. You know how I feel about our first-round picks. If they would have asked for a lot more, I still would have given it to them. That's what I want people to understand. If they would have asked for 2 first-round picks and knowing that I only have 2 left and that cost me my future, Max Christie, AD, Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, that's too much. But for Luka to Don, I'm going to do it. And you would just have to get on my case saying, oh, you overpaid. I'd rather overpay for Luka to Don than to not get him. So that someone would be crazy enough to take less than he's worth for him, I am not going to be retorting back and forth about the particulars. If they're willing to take Max Christie, a first-round pick, Anthony Davis, that is exactly what I agree to in the moment that they sit there and say yes to that. Yeah, cool. I don't care about the problems that it creates in my roster, especially this short-term situation that a lot of people are thinking about with this year. Oh, the Lakers still need a center now. I don't give a damn about this year's unit. This year's unit goes out the window as soon as you bring in Luka the. And that's what I want people to understand, that I understand. I am for lockstep with Rob Pelinka in the sense that I don't give a damn what troubles this trade potentially creates for this year's roster. I don't give a damn at all. Zero damn. No care. I didn't do this for this year's roster. This year's roster is done. I just brought myself Luka the Don. This is about ushering me into an entirely new decade of basketball, friend. This ain't got nothing to do with this year. I'm hearing a lot of people saying, oh man, the Lakers just made a bad trade because they moved on from rim protecting Anthony Davis and they still need players. What about all they need to do is bring themselves a center? No, all we need to do was agree to this trade. And now we have a sequence that looks so much better laid out for us over the next several years, which is all I ever care about when I say hold on to my picks and don't make trades. It's because we don't have value in certain things. So if I'm going to get a superstar of the highest order at half the price, do you understand how important that is for my future? Because I didn't let so much of what it is that I have go away for nothing. So now I got one of the best assets in the world coming in for twice what he's worth. Basically, I paid half the price is what I'm saying. So that may, in theory, reset my entire situation back to zero. Because all the stuff that I let walk without bringing any value back for it, could essentially be made up in this one deal. That's how I'm always looking at this. It's like, where's my asset class right now? Anthony Davis was a very valuable piece. But as he's aging, if I'm not going to be moving on from him this season or next season or the season after that, and I'm talking about re-signing him to another contract as he's going into his mid-30s, if that contract is no good and he starts to digress, now when I try to trigger a trade for him, I'm not getting the amount back necessary to reset my situation. Now I'm in a bad spot because I got LeBron James, who makes up the other half of the most of my value. He's on a no trade clause looking to retire in my uniform. So for me, it's like, I need something like this to come along to save my backside. Because I didn't let so much of my value dissipate into nothing. LeBron James about to dissipate into nothing. And Anthony Davis is essentially, the longer he stays on my team, the more his value depreciates. He's losing value by the second, just off the strength of his age. And the last time I saw him, he looked amazing. He was playing out of his world. And then the next game, he gets hurt, which sends us back to a space where I have to understand that no matter how great he is, I'm still at the mercy of his body holding up, for which history has told us is not the greatest bet. Do you know how perfect that looks? Him coming off of 43 and 20, 41 and whatever the score, the stats he came up with against the Charlotte Hornets was. So he's on a high peak as it pertains to his status. The last time anybody saw him play a full game, he looked amazing. And then he gets hurt, which reinforces the understanding that I gotta expect that this could be possible from here on out. Injury when we saw him get injured, we didn't literally actually witness him get injured. He just ended up with a problem. You understand what I'm saying? Like, he went and talked to his coach, and all of a sudden he's grabbing his side. So for my thing is like, okay, this is a perfect time to trade this dude. This is a perfect time to trade him. Because the last time anybody saw him, he was playing great, and now he's hurt. And somebody's willing to give me a player that's better than him for him, and a young player, Max Christie, that I've underdeveloped, that I probably overpaid, gave him a player option, which has been the bane of my situation, giving player options to people. Jalen Hood-Schifino, a guy I don't even believe in for whatever reason. I just gave up on him, so I'm getting rid of him anyway. I can send him out to Utah. And all I got to do is bring back some pieces that Dallas wants to desperately get rid of, for which don't harm me at all in the grand scheme of what it is I'm trying to do by bringing back Luka Doncic. Of course we're signing up for that. Anybody in their right mind gonna sign up for that on the Lakers side of things. I stand by this deal, and I understand the risk. Luka Doncic don't take care of his body. I got it. He chubby. That's not good. He needs to get in shape. He needs to be motivated to get in shape. That's on him. If he doesn't do that, he doesn't get the most out of his career. He probably ends his career early. He has to live with that. That's a risk I take on as a franchise because that's how talented he is. That's how talented he is. And I think that if anything's going to motivate Luka Doncic to be a monster going forward, it's going to be what Dallas has did to him. What Nico just did to him. If anything's going to make a man put a sandwich down, put a beer down, it's this. Because essentially they've challenged someone who's hyper competitive with talent that doesn't even quite make any sense to all of us, even though we're looking at it half the time. He's so great, it's not even funny how great he is. And you're essentially saying you're giving up on his greatness because you don't believe that at 25 years old he can mature and start taking care of his body? I mean, maybe he can't. Maybe that's just going to be the deficiency in his spirit. Maybe he just, because he's so talented, he don't take care of himself. It's just like somebody who's, in a lot of cases, so very pretty or handsome. They don't feel like they got to take care of their body because they're pretty makes them attractive even when they're not in shape. But that don't mean that they're going to be exempt from some of the problems that come with not taking care of your body. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, you got a pretty face, but like you're not healthy. You know what I mean? That could be a thing. Maybe he's so great at basketball, he don't feel he has to take care of his body because the game comes too easy to him. He's better than everybody any damn way. But it's like, at 25 years old, there's still a lot of maturing to do as a person. He could spend the next 2 years getting in shape and still be like, what, 27 years old with a whole 10 years ahead of him? Probably going to play till like 37. His game's not predicated on speed or athleticism or any of that. He's better than everybody when he's out of shape and fat. So he's going to be better than everybody when he's old too. Because his game is predicated on his ability to see the floor a certain way. His step backs and stuff like that ain't going away. He does need to take care of his body, but it's like, when you're that great at basketball, man, you don't really want to turn a guy away. You don't want to turn a guy away who's that great at basketball just because he's not an all-world athlete. You know, like that's not smart, man. I'm just being honest. And so for me, that's what I'm not going to allow myself to do as the Lakers. I'm not turning him away because he's not in shape. Most players, 99% of players, you definitely do want to turn away if they're not in shape. The elite, you don't do that. You bring them in, especially when they're 25 years old. Now, if they're 36, 37 years old and they're not in shape, then of course we send them away. But like, yeah, no, he's one of the rare dudes where you just say this is not a thing. I will put up with him chubby because he's better than everybody chubby. Like he is. Luka Doncic is a top 3 player and he's not in shape. Is there anybody else in the league that can do that? No, that's how special he is. So if you can get him in shape, how much better does he get? And how smart do you look buying low on him? You see what I'm saying? I thought I looked pretty smart buying low on Zion if they would have gave Zion away. I wouldn't have gave up the same amount I would have gave up for Luka Doncic. But like, Luka Doncic is like 3 times greater than Zion. Like 3 times better than that dude. Honestly. It's not something you really want to do too much thinking about if you're on the Lakers side of things. You just bring them to you and you shut the door on any opportunity for them to change their mind or to overthink this. You don't, listening to these small-minded Laker fans, well, what about this year's team? I'm going to miss Max. Like all that type of stupid stuff. That's stupid stuff, man. That's not important. You just brought yourself a 25-year-old superstar. And now he has a chip on his shoulder because he's just been sent away like he's not as great as he is. Like he didn't just take this team to the finals last year. Last year. Mind you. You got superstars in this league that you couldn't pry a responsible GM off of Luka Doncic for. I don't think I would trade Luka Doncic for John Morant right now. I wouldn't. I wouldn't trade Luka Doncic for Paolo Banchero right now. No. Like, that's the level of talent you just brought in, Los Angeles. That's what I want people to understand. Like, Max Christie, I'd trade 7 Max Christies for Luka the Don. Are you crazy? Like, are you serious? I'd trade away Max Christie and everybody look like it, including his brother. Are you kidding me? That's the level of greatness you just brought into your organization. And so that's what I want people to understand. If you know ball, as people love to say, there's 2 things you understand. In making this trade, you got one of the best players in basketball, one of the greatest players ever played the game. You also understand that this season is pretty much a wash based on how you construct and how little time left it is to save it. And you still make that trade. Okay? As long as we're clear on all 3 of those points, you still make that trade. You just kick the season down the road because you don't have the pieces to win with those 2, him and LeBron James. And you just brought in one of the greatest players ever played basketball. And you bought low on him at that. You got him for half the price. You know, this is a bad trade for the Dallas Mavericks. Some people are saying it's the worst trade of all time. I have to weigh it against the Rudy Gobert trade. I think those are the 2, and the Zubac trade. I think those are the 3 worst trades I've ever seen. This is one of them. It's one of the worst trades I've ever seen. And that's taking into account that I was intent on keeping Anthony Davis for the rest of his career as a Laker fan. I ain't gonna say I was super excited about the idea of having him succeed, be the successor to LeBron James, only because I don't look at him as a number 1. He has number 1 talent and he can put up number 1 stats, but he don't have number 1 leadership qualities. So that was my thing with him. It's like it's in his head. He's not a leader like that. But he can make up the production of a number 1 player. He just ain't gonna get it from him consistently. So I wasn't overly excited, but I was ready to. If the Lakers would have extended him, I think he's worth every penny. You know, what is he making? $57 million. I think at the end of his career, $64 million. He's worth that. End of his contract, rather. He's worth it. So, like, I'm not down on Anthony Davis in any way. I think I perceive Anthony Davis's talent and skill level and importance in this league with his length, his defensive genius, his offensive greatness, and it's a lot to Anthony Davis that makes you understand that Dallas has brought back a superstar for a superstar, and that you gave up a superstar for a superstar. But there's levels to this, and age to consider, and it's no part of this Anthony Davis trade makes me think that we lost it based on the ceiling and just the present of Luka Doncic and what he brings to the table. You know, you got Anthony Davis, probably like the 17th, 16th best player in basketball. And you got Luka Doncic, like the 3rd, 4th best player in basketball. That's where we're at with that. And what makes him so special is that he's probably the 2nd youngest player in that group. Behind Wemby, I think. Wemby's probably considered in that. Jokic is older than him. Giannis is older than him. You see what I'm saying? I think SGA probably older than Luka too, to be honest. I think he is. So it's like, this is not, you didn't bring yourself just a star. You know what I'm saying? Or people are like, oh, he's out of shape, he's a star. No. You brought yourself a statue. Not just a player going up in the rafters, a statue. Someone who's going to have a statue outside of your building when he retires, if you keep him. That's what you just brought to me. And so for me, Anthony Davis, I don't think he gets a statue. As great as he's been, and as much as he was responsible for, I'm not just about to hand him a statue. Nah. Luka Doncic, probably. Yeah, when it's over, yeah, probably. Especially since we're getting him so early. If we keep him for the rest of his career, and and he plays here for another 12 years, something like that, yeah, that man's going to earn a statue for sure. His talent is going to shoe him into that. It's going to shoe him into that. And like I said, we've had Anthony Davis for how many years now? 7 years? We won a championship, got to a Western Conference Finals. And the problem that we've run into is that he plays the same position as a bunch of other players that we have on our team. He wants to play the 4. He's been unhappy playing the 5 the whole time. He's not built for that. We just forced him into it. Luka ain't going to take the 4 spot from LeBron James or Rui Hachimura. Luka, in terms of natural position, fits better next to what we already have for those who care about the current construction of this team. For which, again, I do not. I don't give one damn about the construction of this team at all. As far as I'm concerned, now it's about resetting everything around Luka Doncic. And if LeBron James wants to be here around Luka and LeBron, that means you bring yourself the stuff that they need so that they can succeed. That's it. And that's like a 3-year process. For which, when you finish it, Luka gonna be like 29 years old, 28 years old. So, like, that's how I look at this. This is us over the next 2 years trying to figure out how to acquire the pieces necessary to make it so that Luka is able to compete for championships. That's exactly what this is about. It's the same thing that happens when you move Anthony Davis in any other situation and you're bringing back picks. Now you got 3 or 4 years to try to bring yourself young pieces through the draft and you tank and all that. This is just another path down the same road. We're probably not going to be ready to win a championship for another 2 or 3 years. But you hope to have this dude for another 12 years. So you set yourself up on a path to try to see that you acquire enough so that you can compete. You make sure that you have everything on the books that makes sense so that he can re-sign with your team. You want to put yourself in the strongest position so that when you do, he's not unhappy. You know what I mean? You make sure he's paid. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? And in the situation where he gets his pieces, then you make sure that you surround him with what he wants. Just like you did with LeBron. And you try to make him happier than Dallas was able to. And that's literally it. You got your new Bron, essentially. You got a new Bron. And so, for me, it's like, this wasn't about this year's team. I don't care about this year's team, man. This year's team, we can reset this whole thing. To be honest with you, everything on this team can be cleared out. But we got like Luka Doncic, now we build around him. The same stuff we were building around AD and Bron is not the same stuff you're building around Luka. No. You need an entirely new vision. And that's exactly what you bring yourself. So that's really what it is. I think what you find in the short term is that you have a bit of redundancy, which is why I think this season is a wash. It's a redundancy because you got Austin Reeves, who plays like Bron, Luka Don, who plays like Bron, and Bron. They all need the ball in their hands. They all are facilitators. Luka's more of a primary facilitator and a pure point guard, but those other two are gifted facilitators as well. So your ball movement is going to be superior to everybody's. You're going to have some of the best ball movement in the NBA immediately, just off the strength of those 3 players passing back and forth to each other. So I'm not worried about us picking apart defenses. We're picking apart all defenses right now when we get those 3 on the floor healthy. But you don't have the defensive players that can keep you a reasonable defensive team. Yeah, you have Vando, which will help if he can stay healthy. Yeah, you got Dorian, which will help, and he already has chemistry with Luka. He's already played with Luka. So that's going to help. But they're not enough to keep you in contention defensively. You're going to win by scoring 140 points on teams. And that's not going to get you through the playoffs when it matters most. It's not. And most importantly, because Luka's recovering from an injury, you might be wise to just, sit him on back-to-backs, maybe even shut him down for the rest of the season. And this is why I look at LeBron James and I say, brother, we got a couple of days here. You sure you want to be here for this? I know it's been reported that he's not going to demand a trade, but it's like, are you sure you want to go down this path? Because we've turned the corner on what you're doing. We really have. I'm not interested in kicking you out. I'm actually excited about what our ball movement looks like with LeBron and Luka. I love that idea. Because they're such phenomenal, efficient scorers and passers, I'm of the mindset that all I need to do is get myself a couple of a Max Christie-ish type player, Jared Allen type player, and maybe a few guys, maybe a Norman Powell type dude, and I might be able to compete very soon. I don't need to move on from LeBron James. This could be a good pairing. This could be as good a pairing as AD was for Bron. Obviously, different strengths, but greatness, man. Greatness is greatness, bro. And you bring yourself Luka to Don, you've undoubtedly got yourself a better player than Anthony Davis. You just got to find different ways to cover up his weaknesses and accentuate his strengths. And given the fact that LeBron James loves to score and Luka loves to pass, Luka loves to score and LeBron loves to pass, I don't see why that wouldn't work. They both huge as hell, impossible to guard. We're going to score on every possession. Even when we don't have other players that are any good, we're still about to win probably more games than we would have right now. I think we're going to be a top 4 seed in the Western Conference right now, just off of the strength of bringing such a ridiculous talent to yourself. I really believe that. But is it constructed to win in the playoffs? No, hell no. You don't have the athleticism to keep up with a team like OKC. You definitely don't have the athleticism to keep up with Houston. You don't have the depth necessary to keep up with some of these teams. So it's like you don't have the length or the rim protection to keep people out your paint. We're severely weak in some areas. And so that's why it's like this season's a wash. But wash doesn't mean the same thing as it does for Washington, so to speak. We're not about to just bottom out. Not when you bring yourself this type of guy. Hell no. He's going to win. The question is how do you win? And how frustrating is it when you can't defend? When you don't have any rim protection. And we already seen what that looks like, because Dallas had this problem with Christian Wood. And they, made sure they didn't make the playoffs. Got the Derek Lively piece and then traded for Gafford. Got PJ Washington. This is why they, that's what's needed. So the Lakers, if they're learning from what Dallas just went through, they understand what they have to do now. You gave away Anthony Davis to get Luka, no problem. But you do need to get some rim protection now. Because if Luka without rim protection is on a bad team defensively. And LeBron James, he's not going to help in that area. The guys that you don't have rim protection at all. So if you're going to try to keep guys feeling like they can at least compete in regular season, you gotta get yourself multiple rim protectors. So now I think Walker Kessler makes more sense. Without AD, he makes a lot more sense because you need him to, Robert Williams. I wasn't open to making a move for Robert Williams. Now, yeah, I'm much more likely to see the value in trying to take a chance on a Robert Williams because I need rim protection real bad. Mitchell Robinson, people like that, I had no interest in when AD was on the team. Now that AD's not here, those players are significantly more important to me. As to which, that secondary ball handler that I was telling you about, get me somebody who can facilitate, that's out the window. I don't care for that now because I got Luka Doncic. You see what I'm saying? I still have Austin Reeves. I still have LeBron James. Now I got Luka Doncic. So that issue about getting me 30 assists a night, man, these guys are going to average that easy. Off of each other, they can average 30 assists. So that's no longer an issue. My rim protection issue is a real thing. My playmaking, ball handling issue is no longer a factor. So that's what the shift comes in for us to consider as a Laker fan. My pick, that one lone pick that I got left, not nearly as important to me anymore. Not even close. Why? Because I got a 25-year-old superstar who's going to make sure my team is at least 500 at the very worst, just off the strength of his talent. So that means them picks ain't as good in the future. Those picks don't look that great. 29 pick in 2029, it's 2025 right now. That's 4 years from now if my math is any good. Luka Doncic is 26 at the end of this month. He's going to be 30. When that pick that we just gave to Dallas transpires, he's going to be in his prime. That's 4 years from now. If we do what we're supposed to do, he'll be re-signed and he'll likely have a team around him that can really go. If we do what we're supposed to do, that's a terrible pick. Them picks that Utah got, now them picks are terrible. Because we're going to have Luka Doncic in our prime, a top 3 player in the league on our team. So it's like those picks only look good if you're projected to look bad. 2031 with Luka 32, we're going to be good. And that's what it comes down to. I really genuinely believe that picks ain't worth what they used to be worth because your situation's a little different. And so now, as we continue to assess what we now need Maybe you can make another trade since Daniel Gafford might have been on the block. Maybe they'll consider removing Daniel Gafford. They don't need Daniel Gafford anymore. We do. So maybe we make another trade with the Dallas Mavericks and get Daniel Gafford. That's the type of thing that you consider. Miles Turner's not on the trade block. I respect that. But maybe you try to see if you can get, maybe you dangle that first pick. Try to get Miles Turner if it matters to you. Because there's one thing the Lakers are going to have to understand. Luka Doncic obviously wants to win. He was in the finals last year. So he's 25, but he's not 25 like a lot of players who want to rebuild. He's been winning. He's been on a championship level team. He's been on several. So you're not going to sit here and tell him that we're going to bottom out for 3 years and expect for him to be happy with that. He is a win now piece, obviously. Well, as to which a lot of 25-year-olds are, but not nearly to the degree that he already is. He ain't going to be happy if he can't win. If his team is so bad around him and so poorly constructed around him, 2 years from now, you're probably going to lose him. He's going to want out. He's going to sign his extension and he's going to want out. In theory. So you don't allow yourself to get in that space. You make sure that you have some of those win now pieces in place. So that's going to be the challenge for Rob Pelinka. Do you have enough to work with to bring him a team that can help him be a title contender fairly quickly? And with the presence of LeBron James, the answer is, yeah, I think so. Yeah. Because LeBron don't need a lot and Luka don't need a lot. But LeBron and Luka definitely don't need a lot. You just got to get yourself the right role pieces. And that some athleticism is needed. Rim protection is needed. Depth is needed. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's real. You need those things. So am I dangling Rui and Austin? Maybe. It depends on how important Austin now is to my situation. Because, see, I love Austin Reeves. But with Luka Doncic and LeBron James, a lot of what makes him go is gone. He has to play off ball now. And the pace is different. Some of that stuff he likes to do real fast, Luka's slowing that pace down. So now you have to ask yourself, does he make as much sense? Or can I take him and turn him into something that's going to fit Bron and Luka a little better? A more off-ball talented piece. So that they can have the spacing necessary and the defense necessary to make up for their lack of defense. So you know you didn't got AD. That piece was covering up a lot of people's mistakes. So how can I make it so that our unit doesn't make as many mistakes defensively? And if I have two non-defensive players like LeBron James, I got Vando and Dodo, they're going to help a lot. But where's that last piece, that point of attack defender? That defender who's going to guard the small players that ultimately we still can't guard right now. And the rim protector who's going to block shots. So that's the question. Now, can we get a Davion Mitchell to help defend some of these small guards? Can you find me somebody who's going to do the things that Max did? Can you find me a elite shot blocker like Jared Allen, as I said, or Walker Kessler, or somebody like Khalil Ware type piece? When you find those pieces, now in theory you feel a lot better about you just being able to compete in the playoffs. And then it becomes who can stop these two unstoppable pieces that are looking for each other and looking for themselves to get their own shots. So it's like, that's why for me it's like I'm not of the mindset that this kicks LeBron James out after thinking about it enough. I don't think this sends him anywhere. I think LeBron James can win probably just as much with Luka Doncic as he won with Anthony Davis. It's just about who's going to be willing to play off ball, and how do they handle late game situations when both of these guys are primary go-to guys. I think LeBron James is going to defer to Luka Doncic a lot more than Luka's going to defer to Bron, because Luka's a better shooter, and it just makes more sense. Luka's likely a better playmaker in terms of point guarding and stuff like that. He's more gifted in that way. So I would rather LeBron not play off ball as much, because I don't look at him as a go-to scorer, and that's what kind of puts the fit in a little bit of a disarray for me. Because I don't think either one of these people want to play off ball for one another. Not really. Not really. And neither one of them going to make up for each other's defensive mistakes at all. So that's the monkey wrench. The fit isn't seamless. but they're so great. And Luka is such a volume producer in the assist, rebounding, and scoring category. So when you see LeBron go for 35, 10, and 8, and then Luka go for 28, 10, and 10, suddenly you realize that you can produce more with those two players than a lot of teams can produce with their entire starting lineup. That's what you end up finding out. You may not be able to stop people, but you outscoring everybody more efficiently every night just off the strength of them two doing what they do when they figure their synergy out. So one of the reasons why I didn't really believe in the Phoenix Suns is because I look at those guys as score-first players who can facilitate a little bit. Devin Booker's turned himself into a really respectable facilitator. Bradley Beal can make some plays here and there. Look, Kevin Durant's looking for his shot, but he's not a selfish player. And when he is looking for himself, he's one of the most efficient players of all time. But they're not cerebral in the sense that they're so very gifted at passing the rock. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't think it really worked. This, totally different. Because now you got two people who are extremely gifted at passing the rock, extremely gifted at scoring the rock, bigger than most at the positions they play. So it's like you got to deal with the physicality of Luka Doncic being 270 pounds. You got to deal with the physicality of LeBron James still being fast enough to move past people at the speed of light. And all the off-ball cuts and stuff like that they're going to have just simply off being basketball gods, both of them. Like I said, I love the idea of Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I think the synergy had grown to a space where they knew each other better than anything. And Anthony Davis, like I said, his greatness on the defensive end, the rebounding, and the offensive end. But your offense right now is significantly more advanced, just off of the strength of Luka Doncic and LeBron James being on the floor at the same time. It's light years beyond what AD and LeBron were doing. Light years. And you don't get some of them easy lobs, easy tip ins. Offensive rebounds come a little harder. Shot blocking certainly don't come the same way. The timing of rebounding and defense and all of that stuff is gone with Anthony Davis. That's the greatness of Anthony Davis. You're going to miss that. That's going to cost you. But what you're inserting is an entirely different greatness in Luka Doncic, which should make up for it in a different area that equates to you being just as good. And that's what I'm counting on. That's exactly what I'm counting on. And I think we're more likely to win basketball games when Bron is out with Luka running the show than when Bron is out and AD was running the show. Because AD would have these games where he just wouldn't show up. He may have 20 points. Luka ain't never going to have that problem. And Luka Doncic makes other people better. Although AD has grown a lot in that way. He's a good playmaker. He can get the ball to others. Luka's gifted at this. So I'm not worried about Rui getting his touches. Or I don't think Dalton Connect's going to look as bad in the second half of the year as he did in the first half of the year. Because Luka Doncic going to make damn sure he does it. He's going to make damn sure he does it. So now your whole team is going to be better because other people are going to be better too. Just off the strength of that playmaker being on the floor, being as great as he is. Luka going to get his assists. He averaged 8 of them. He's going to get his assists. A lot of that's going to be him early on looking for Bron. And they're going to have to figure each other out, and it's going to take some time. But like I said, these are basketball gods, man. These ain't just your regular stars even. These are some of the best there is. And look, I believe that LeBron James' greatest teammate of all time on the basketball floor was Anthony Davis. Although you got to give Dwayne Wade his props. Luka Doncic is more talented than both of those players. Naturally talented. Now, of course, they're both more well-rounded than Luka. Luka only plays one side of the ball. But what he does on that side of the ball is just ultimately at a greater level than what they do. Period. That's just what it is. Dwayne Wade, amazing. He wasn't Luka. Just wasn't. NBA champion, more of a winner. But he wasn't Luka. Just not. Anthony Davis, same thing. Just not. I'm talking about top 3 player. Just not. So it's like, that's what it really comes down to. I don't think a lot of Laker fans have really absorbed what they just acquired. And to the price that they acquired it. But once you bring Luka to your team, it's really about him. You dream up something entirely new that fits him. You don't nitpick about what it is that he's not and what it is that ultimately you let go of and how it's going to hurt you. That does not matter. What matters is what you now have because you got this player, and that the price was so low that you still have a lot to work with in terms of building around him. So, like, that's what it is for me. I think that I like the idea of supreme ball movement with him now in place with LeBron and Austin. But now I look at Austin and I say, you can get me stuff that I really need. If I'm being completely honest with you, he can give me stuff that I really need. Now, maybe I like the timeline of Austin and Luka playing together. But God, is my defense horrible with those two. If I have a dream of what my Lakers going to look like when LeBron James gone, it's turnstiles. The defense is horrible. Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic, their defense is terrible. Like, super terrible. I don't really love that going forward. I don't even want to do that. When they're redundant in some areas and then both of them can't defend me. Now, that's a problem. So, and that's what this year's unit is going to find out. The defense is going to be an absolute nightmare. The deficiencies is going to be really bad. But you're going to make up for it on the offensive end, man. You're going to make up for it on the offensive end. Each and every possession offensively, you expect the shot to go in with the type of talent that you now have in place offensively. So it's going to make up for anything defensively. You're going to make great defenses look foolish with those two players on the floor. And that's what I think is also going to be in place. Great defenses are going to look so foolish trying to keep up with this team. And so it's like, yeah, that's what you picked up. That's what you picked up. And I think you don't lose anything in the foul category either, because Luka's going to get his calls. So you're going to spend a lot of time at the free throw line. You spend a lot of time at the free throw line. And Luka spreads the floor out so much for a guy like LeBron James in ways that you didn't have before. Anthony Davis couldn't spread the floor like this. You have to respect Anthony from behind the arc, but this is an entirely different level, because Luka could pull up from 35 with ease, consistently. Like, you could find Luka laking the shot clock and hit the shot. If you're getting rushed around, if somebody wants to double team anybody, you're not wise for double teaming anybody in this Laker team anymore. You're gonna double LeBron, leave Luka open? But you're gonna double both of them and leave Rui and Austin open? You're gonna get smoked. So it's like, offensively, I don't know that anybody sees it this way. Maybe it's just in my mind's eye, which ain't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But offensively, I think the Lakers just became a top 3 offense in all of basketball right now. Top 3 right now. Because the hyper efficiency of Rui Hachimura alone and the passing ability of Luka and LeBron, getting him the ball, makes him more useful to me now than he was before. Offensively. Defensively, like I said, we're awful. Like, horrible. We're going to give up 130 points tonight, but we're going to score 140. Still win, you feel me? So athletically, we've taken some steps backwards in theory. I think Anthony Davis is a bit more agile than people give him credit. Obviously, Max Christie is so very important to what we're doing. And he was very reliable to stay healthy. It seemed he was starting off on the right foot with that. So we're going to miss Max Christie a lot. I think he makes a lot more sense right now if we could have kept him. I don't want people to think that I think that that's not a thing, because it really is. For what it is we just put together, Max Christie is far more important, and that he's gone is going to hurt bad. But I'm not of the mindset that it's smart to retort when negotiating for Luka to Don in this situation. That I understand that is not going to be why I send Luka away. Do you understand what I'm saying? No way in hell. Not in my circumstance, and not even if I were in a much better circumstance with more assets, do I let Max Christie hold up a Luka Doncic trade. God no. God no. Anthony Davis wasn't holding up that trade. Max Christie definitely ain't holding up that trade. And so that's what I want people to understand. You just got to live with what comes with that, and any deficiencies that come with that are just your responsibility for making up for in other ways. You know? Because if you say, well, no, I don't want to do this deal, can we keep Max Christie out of it? And they say, you know what, forget it. You've ruined everything. Even if it's not a good chance that they say, you know what, forget it. I don't think it's a good chance that they get on the phone and do this at all. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to test the universe. When somebody comes to me with a bag of money and just say, give me 50 push-ups, I'm getting down doing 55 just in case. Like, you know what I'm saying? Oh, my chest hurt. No, not that bad. It don't hurt that bad. Not for me to be, you know what I'm saying? It ain't going to be no negotiation. It's me doing what you tell me to do and you giving me something that's worth far more than what it is I'm putting out. So if you want Max Christie, first round pick, Anthony Davis for Luka Doncic, that's exactly what I need to be responsible for making sure you had. Not sitting back trying to say, well, does this make sense for me? How many problems do I have if I do this? None of that. None of that. Because if they hang up the phone and tell you, no, we've changed our mind for any reason at all, we fire you for letting that happen. Rob Pelinka like, well, we're going to really need Max Christie. And they get off the phone talking about, well, Sacramento's really about to give us De'Aaron Fox. Goodbye. Now we firing your ass, Rob Pelinka, for doing that, for letting that even be a possibility. So, as far as I can tell, any collateral damage that comes from our team having issues that stem from making this trade should be welcome problems for the Lakers to now dream up opportunities of finding a way to fix or live with. One or the other, doesn't matter. You do this trade and you do it right then. No retorts. We ain't sending back no retorts. Not if you're doing this correctly. And so that's exactly what I think happened there. As it's been reported, they called the Lakers looking to move on from Luka to Don. They made the decision. They wanted to move on from Luka to Don, and the player that they wanted out of all the league that they felt was realistic was Anthony Davis. They valued Anthony Davis so much for the vision of what it is that they currently have constructed. And they were so short-sighted as to see that as the most important thing, this year's team, which I think is probably the most egregious part of this for me, that they went about it and said, you know what, give me something that fits this unit above all the other opportunities to get twice and 3 times more value. As many times as I've seen people overpay for stuff, they settled for half of what this player was worth so that they could fit a certain vision that they have for their team. It's just, like, that is just the worst way, in my humble opinion, to handle this. And that's why I probably make a whole separate video on that, I think, because I'm almost where I need to go. But, like, I just think Nico Harrison has such a short-sighted vision and was so locked into the vision of the team that he has and the opportunity he has to potentially build a championship that he did not consider anything at all about what this meant for the future of his franchise, what this meant for the fan base, the PR backlash that's ultimately coming from the entire Dallas fan base, and how devastated they are about this move. I don't think he gave much credence to much of anything other than what he had in mind that could win a championship. And he figured once it's successful, betting on himself, people will love me because we won a championship. And maybe he's right. Maybe that's what this turns out to be. But if it ain't, what he just did to this fan base in Dallas, what he ultimately did to their asset class by accepting that return, it's absolutely unforgivable, to be honest with you. Absolutely unforgivable. Video 44. I thank you all for watching.